6회 수능 영어 독해 미니 모의고사
Number 1. When learning a second language, many students are bothered by worry and stress. Researchers have extensively investigated such feelings of anxiety. For a long time, those who studied this phenomenon thought it was simply a characteristic built into each learner's personality. Therefore, they rated the learner's levels of anxiety as personality traits rather than considering that anxiety might be changeable depending on context and temporary circumstances. Recently, those who have looked into the causes of learner anxiety have come to realize that it is not a fixed aspect of a learner's character, but is dynamic and variable. Now they acknowledge the need to distinguish between such situations as giving an oral presentation, which is likely to cause some degree of anxiety in any student, and communicating with one's peers in small groups, which is unlikely to cause anxiety in most students.
Number 2. Most parents love to praise their children. They usually adopt one of two styles of praise, focusing either on the child's personal characteristics or on what the child is doing. Research shows that these different styles of praise are not equivalent. When parents praise their children by telling them that they're doing things the right way, the children tend to stick to a task and try harder when a task is difficult. In other words, praising the process makes the children want to work harder and do even better. On the other hand, such personal praise as telling children that they're good at something may make them believe that their abilities can't be changed and cause them to avoid harder tasks because they don't want to risk failing. When they get something wrong or perform a task imperfectly, they blame their lack of ability rather than realizing they can improve.
Number 3. How do figure skaters avoid getting dizzy from spinning around and around? Some people say it is because they keep their eyes on a single point while spinning. To find out if this is really possible, NASA conducted some tests. The results showed that the eyes of trained skaters do not move back and forth during a spin as they do with untrained skaters. This rapid eye movement is actually what causes feelings of dizziness. However, trained skaters do not focus their eyes on a single point while spinning. Instead, their eyes stay in a stable position, focusing on the space between the skater and the nearest object. This kind of gaze is similar to that of a person who is daydreaming. As for untrained skaters, they generally feel dizziest just after a spin. Therefore, they are taught to turn their heads in the opposite direction after stopping.
Number 4. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a kind of bias that causes people to overestimate their own abilities. The effect was shown in an experiment that involved testing students in a variety of fields, including humor, grammar, and logic. Afterwards, the students' estimation of their own performance was compared with the actual results of the tests. The students who performed well on the tests were consistently shown to have underestimated themselves. This can likely be explained by the fact that students who find a test easy often assume that other test takers must have found it equally unchallenging. However, more importantly, in terms of the Dunning-Kruger effect, those with the lowest test scores were found to have greatly overestimated their performance. According to the researchers, this occurred because unskilled test takers tend to experience illusory superiority. After providing erroneous answers on the test, their incompetence prevents them from recognizing their mistakes.
Number 5. Why is humid air less heavy than dry air? The difference is that humid air contains water vapor molecules, not actual drops of water. These molecules determine how much the air weighs. According to Avogadro's law, a basic rule of chemistry, equal volumes of gases at the same temperature and pressure have the same number of molecules. Thus, when water vapor molecules are added to the air, they must replace either nitrogen or oxygen molecules in order to keep the number of molecules stable. And since water vapor molecules are lighter than both nitrogen and oxygen molecules, the weight of the air decreases. Remember that equal amounts of dry air and humid air have the same number of molecules, but the molecules in the dry air are simply more dense.